Since I came here, felt the joy and the fear, finding myself making every possible mistake. La 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 la.
The flight home. I cover myself with a blanket as I sit down to write this. The airplane is cold, but it is also protection. Not particularly substantial, but tangible, like clinging to the comforter on a California July night, sweating but desperate for even the flimsiest of barriers. Writing this is not like that. But you have to hold your heart in your hands all the same. Every safety precaution matters. It makes a difference. My body tells stories better than my words have ever managed. Fingertips and tongue go a long way towards precision, but must work much harder for truth, whole truth. Maybe that's why it's the canvas I turn to first. I started writing poems when I was 10, chapter books about girls who were attacked and raped and abandoned when I was 12, but it was 13 when I found the language that I needed, a language that was almost enough. This language was intricate, vague and exact in just the ways that I needed. It cut straight to the heart, the truth, the whole truth. It offered no explanations. This language did not stumble over its own contradictions like I did. At 13, I needed this desperately, because fingertips and tongue could not get close to the truth my body knew. With fingertips and tongue, I kept reaching for this story and could not find it. I think now my fingertips brushed against it often, closed my fist around it even. Its aftertaste was a constant presence on my lips, my breath. But where could I have put it? 13-year-old me lacking in both vocabulary and cope. 13-year-old me, who didn't know anything, knew everything. And 13-year-old me lacking in both vocabulary and cope found the only container proven capable of holding this story so far. Left it there, in the closest thing to safe hands, and gave up words for a language that was almost enough. This language saved my life and nearly killed me on at least 2 occasions. It spoke in bones in dark circles, ribs you can count easily under clothing, gray skin and shaking hands. Dominant institutional narrative wants so bad to jump in here. See, I held the ugliest, most dangerous story I knew in my body, and with nowhere to put it, decided to make my body as small as possible, starve it, turn myself inside out and concave in some desperate attempt to be rid of it, see? And that's on so easy clean. Some days, I relate to this, that the end goal of thin was really the end goal of empty, of poured out, of free. And it's a gamble you take. Maybe it'll work and maybe it'll kill you, but it's gonna be one or the other. Some days, those are the only best options. And on those days, this language kept me trying, kept me alive. It also sent arrhythmias and palpitations. At the tender age of 14, just 2 months into my freshman year of high school, bending over myself with a sudden knife twisting in my chest. Thankfully alone on the back of the school bus, I reacted only once. That day, I cringed, sucked my teeth, slammed breasts to knees, tried to breathe. Tried to breathe and counted them. 1, 2, 3. The stab, linger, fade. Stab, linger, stab, linger. Counted seconds. Only the first few were excruciating. After that, they came like clockwork every day, at least twice. I did not flinch. Within a day or two, one could hit mid-sentence, and I'd go on talking without so much as a pause. It was a point of pride and of protection. My body told you its story, cut to truth, vague and exact, but that was one detail I was not ready to relinquish. I pondered the possibility and absurdity of a heart attack before my 15th birthday, but did not stop. See, I still had my only 2 best options, which left only one choice. Because 14-year-old me, who didn't know anything, knew everything. And with only this language that was almost enough, I knew I held this truest, ugliest, most dangerous and precious story in my body, and that it was all I had. And though my two best options were dangling feet and hips much too close to the edge, the one choice was not suicide, but figuring out how to get down when you're on the 10th floor and the room is on fire. It's what you do when you cannot hope for flying. You turn your skirt into a parachute and try to land on your least delicate parts. Pray for resilience. See, my body learned to say, this is not okay. I am not okay, and you have to deal with it. Not expecting rescue, but refusing invisibility. The dominant narrative labels this a desperate cry for help, that we say with our bodies what we cannot say with our words so that you can intervene. It is the ultimate damsel in distress. This horrified me for years, the implication, accusation that I was just trying to get attention, that this was to make you worry enough to care. Until I realized they missed the point. I inscribed my pain onto my body, markings and sunken cheeks and a clearly detailed sternum, clavicles, goosebumps, and bruises for all the words I did not have. But it was not, please help, so much as fuck you, so much as I will not shield you from discomfort at the expense of my truth, will not pretend that you are not implicated in this. So much as this which you are so pained to see is the closest to honest that I have ever been. And it is the only language I have, and it is not enough. But it's the best thing anyone's come up with so far. Because sometimes fighting is coming really close to dying and learning how to beat it. Sometimes learning how far you can turn yourself inside out is the airtime your skirt will buy you, to a softer place to land. Maybe not a net, but a height that will bruise instead of shatter. This is my prayer for resilience. The second time around, when this language that saved me nearly killed me, I had to question my escape route. Because 20-year-old me knew better. 20-year-old me had vocabulary and cope, along with 7 years of therapy, 3 months of rehab, 2 years of sobriety. 20-year-old me was supposed to know better. Was supposed to know how to use fingertips and tongue to tell the story that I needed. Was supposed to know the story. Now again, not so much later, I can see my hands wrapping around it still, fingertips going along the edges, looking for a ridge to hold on to. Caught somewhere between larynx and tonsils, and I still don't know the words. I was supposed to know the words. 20-year-old me was supposed to know a lot of things. And spilling over with words, but none of the right ones, and coping skills that would surely have worked if I could only figure out how to use them. Knowing better didn't really matter, because nothing was enough. And all things being lacking almost seemed like the best you could hope for. This language at least got the story, and I decided to let my body tell it. Yes, it was a choice. There is culpability here, a generosity 13-year-old me deserves that 20-year-old me doesn't. I wasn't a kid anymore. I did know better. I just didn't know what else to do. It was my fault the building was on fire, that I was still on the 10th floor trying to get down. I cannot pretend that I am not implicated in this. This is about coming home. This is about making our bodies safe so our bodies can be our home. My body has been my canvas, my voice, the only container strong enough to hold me, and I have clung desperately to it and tried to destroy it for all of these reasons. Yet, even when you hate the container, maybe even hate what it contains, there is something to say for being able to find yourself. And in my body, I have. But my skirt is still buying my airtime. I cannot pretend that I am not still turning myself inside out, that I am not still falling. My language is better, but it's still lacking. I still have a tendency to set rooms on fire. Most days, I am farther from the ledge. But my skirt is still buying my airtime, and I am still looking for a softer place to land. I am learning how to be my softer place to land. This is my prayer for resilience.